Team India can play the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The road is tough, but certainly not impossible. You want to know why and how India can play the World Cup? Watch this video. Hello and welcome to Mad About Sports for yet another video. Today we're going to be talking about Indian national football team and their chances of making it to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The team finally has come together as a cohesive unit under Ego's team match. On the very same lines, we have covered almost two videos on how Team India are put up and what are the future fixtures for Team India. But the biggest goal of them all is the 2026 World Cup, or to play in a World Cup in the next 24 years at least. Because remember, aiff had already come up with Project 2047, where in the next 24 odd years, India would want to come and make grassroots system work for themselves, have academy system, bring in more teams, have a league structure where there could be relegation and promotion, and also grassroots level under 17s, under 15s, under 14s, and also women's football being developed in the country. So these are some of the important factors to keep in mind as we go ahead in the video. Now, as we all know, India have now won the SAF Championship, defeating Kuwait in the final, and also they got past Lebanon in the Intercontinental Cup. India are ranked 100 in the FIFA rankings. Now, what does that mean that India are ranked 100? Now, that certainly means let's look at the seeding system. Now, I'll explain you how the World Cup qualifier certainly works. Now, the most important thing which you need to keep in mind is there are three pots, and the fourth pot is yet to be decided. The first pot is going to be having the biggest teams from Asia. Now, you're going to have Japan, Australia, Iran, Qatar, UAE, Iraq, Oman, Saudi Arabia, South Korea. Now, if you talk about these teams all featured in the last World Cup and did have a very decent run as well. Now, you have to talk about Saudi Arabia defeating the world champions, or South Korea putting up a very good show in the World Cup, Japan going on to defeat Germany, and let's talk about some teams like Iran as well, who did a very decent job, and Australia there, who had a very good World Cup. It came to the round of 16, had a very good game against Argentina there. So you're talking about these level teams in pot one. Now, pot two, that is where India are placed. India are the last team in pot two, and there's pot three. Now, how does the qualifiers work? Now, out of the four pots, India will be playing against one team from every pot except from pot two. Now, India are in pot two, so India will be playing against one team from pot one. So India are lucky enough to face only one team out of Australia, Iraq, Japan, UAE, Oman. If India are very lucky, India would be fortunate enough to face some of the lower ranked teams, which is UAE or Oman. If India get either of them, India will fancy the chances. Remember, UAE are a good team, but certainly their development has been on a halt in the recent past. So that is where India will fancy themselves. And remember, UAE also lost to Kuwait, whom India defeated in the SAF Championship. Now that's going to be upper hand for Team India. If India gets Australia, Japan, it's going to be hard, but definitely not impossible. Now let's talk about pot three. Now this is very important to look into pot three. Pot three are certainly good teams, like certainly better teams, but not as strong as a pot one team. Now, if you talk about pot two, if India would have been in pot three, India would have had to face some strong teams from pot two as well, which is going to be really making India's road harder. Now, from pot three, when you look at Lebanon, India have already defeated Lebanon. Now, when you talk about Thailand, they are on their way up. They've had a good run. They defeated Vietnam in the recent past. Philippines are doing a decent job. Kuwait, India had a success against them. Turkmenistan is a tough opposition, you can say so, and Malaysia as well. So North Korea hasn't really been doing well in Asian football, like as they were doing in early 2010s, where they made it to the World Cup quite consistently. But since then, North Korea hasn't really done well. That's why India will fancy their chances against teams from pot three. And pot four, of course, you can expect teams like Bangladesh, Nepal, and teams of that caliber to come into the pot four. So India will be facing against one team from pot one team from pot three, one team from pot four. Now, who would India ideally like to face? As I mentioned, UAE, Iraq, Oman. Now, India have faced Oman in the last couple of World Cup qualifiers, so there are high chances that once again Oman could be the team in India's group. Alongside, who else would India fancy the chance against? This is India's best chance to go to round three. Now, round three is going to be very interesting because round three is where the biggest competition takes place, where all these teams are put in. Top two teams from every group goes to round three, and then there'll be a face-off against the top team. There, India will be playing against the likes of Japan, South Korea, and that's where the premier level of football, the highest quality of football in Asia, will be played. Remember, World Cup qualifiers are not an easy task for any of the teams. So India will have to be on their A game come the World Cup qualifiers. Remember, some of the teams maybe you can say were not at their best come the soft championship. They maybe put not the best of players out there in the park. But now, if you talk about World Cup qualifiers, you talk about likes of Japan, likes of South Korea, they'll be coming with their main team. And also likes of Australia, they'll be up there. Australia did not have the best of times running into the World Cup, but come the World Cup, they really did put in a good show there as well. Now, this is how it's going to be ranked. This is how the seeding is going to be. The World Cup qualifying round and Asian Cup. So this is how the top two teams from the group will proceed. Then they'll play the round three. Round three is the most important round. Now, if you can pass that round, that is where you inch very, very, very close to that World Cup hopes. Now let's look at how India went in the 2022 World Cup qualifiers, how India did go. So that was a tough group for India. Remember, India had the host nation, Qatar, though Qatar was already qualified into the World Cup, but they still played. I remember Qatar had a draw against India as well, which was a surprising result for Qatar in itself. India kept a 0-0 draw against Qatar, which was a massive result for Team India to get the draw against Qatar, and they had Afghanistan and Bangladesh as well from the other two groups. So these are the teams who will be coming in now. Very, very important for India to look into. One other major factor is what are the ways in which aiff are proceeding. Remember, aiff has come up with a big thing that they've increased India's budget into maybe more 40 to 50 crores. Now remember, they have gone 134 crores. Now 45 crores of budget increase in comparison with what was 47 crores to be precise. Now that's massive because Kalyan Chaubey has made it very clear as to how they want to go about it, how they want to really fancy their chances, especially come the big tournaments they have in place. Remember, Asian Cup, before there is Kings Cup and Matilda Cup. Now these are two big tournaments. For World Cup qualifiers, that is going to happen. The groups are still not decided, but before that, India will be playing Asian Championship. Now if you talk to any Indian national footballer, what is their two biggest dreams as a national team footballer? One is to play the World Cup, of course. India hasn't been able to do it in a while. But what is the second biggest dream for a lot of these players? It is to play in the Asian Championship, which will be happening in Qatar in January. As you all know, the groups are already there. India will be playing Uzbekistan, Australia, and Syria. Not the easiest of group for India, but definitely they're in with a chance because now there's a wave, there's a momentum with Team India. And Igor's team match has been very vocal about getting a 4-week camp prior to the World Cup, prior to the Asian Championship rather, which is very important because you saw when you give time to a manager, he can come up with goods, and he really did. Manish Gowli did a good job as an interim manager in these occasions where Igor Stimac was sent off during that first game against Pakistan, and he was in the stands. But remember, the entire coaching room staff has come together. Remember, the strength and conditioning coach of Croatian national football team, who was part of the 2022 World Cup, is the strength and conditioning coach of Team India in for the current national team as well. You saw the stamina levels in the ISAF championship. India were much superior when it comes to stamina, agility, and endurance that you saw on the pitch. India had two games where they had to play 120 minutes in 3 days span, and India did not let it go. India were right up there. The intensity was there. Pressing and triggers was right up there. And who was leading the charge? A 38-year-old certain Sunil Chetri. Even at the age of 38, he was absolutely on top of his game when it comes to pressing. Off the ball work rate was top notch there. And that is where you're going to be talking about the Indian team's endurance and strength and conditioning going even a notch higher. And that's going to be very important and vital when you come up against some of the top Asian teams. Now, that is where come the Asian Championship against Australia, against Uzbekistan or Syria, or in the Kings Cup, where India will possibly face a likes of Iran in the Kings Cup as well. As it's not yet announced, but there are possibilities India will face Iran. Now, that's a good preparation come the World Cup qualifiers as well. If you're going to face Iran by chance in the World Cup qualifiers, that's going to be a good prior preparation to face them in the Kings Cup before you move into playing them in a big occasion like the World Cup qualifiers, or even if India proceeds to the second round of the Asian Championship. So India have got some big tournaments coming in. Now, the biggest question is going to be, how many days will the Indian team get to prepare for this? Now, Igor's team match has been very vocal about not getting enough days to prepare. And Indian national team, when they put it together in a camp, they come together as a cohesive unit. They're able to come together to plan well, gel well. The chemistry was right up there. there was a fixed playing 11, which is so important. If a manager can find a proper playing 11, that means he's done 80% of his job. And that was so important. And that's what Igor's team has found, a set playing 11 who was most of the tournament they were injury free, apart from Anwar Ali getting injured towards the latter half, or even for the matter, Sandesh Jingan slightly pulling off in the second game, in the semi-final rather. So other than that, most of the players look very fit. The even the players off the bench, whoever are coming, Mahesh has been doing well. Likes of Rohit Kumar, likes of Udanta Singh. These lads are putting in work. And remember, likes of Shiva Shakti and Ishan Pandita can also make it to the team Indian call-up, because Ishan Pandita was ruled out after the Intercontinental Cup. Now Ishan Pandita is going to be massive because he's got the skill. He's now considered as possibly a replacement of Sunil Chhetri. Remember, he's not still gotten that starting lineup call-up in the Indian Super League. After him making the move from FC Goa to Jamshedpur, people thought that could be breakthrough for him, but maybe this season is where he can come into his own. Remember, he has spent good 5 to 6 years in Spain, where he has been part of Las Palmas. He's been part of some important academy regime in Spain. So that technical ability is embedded in someone like an Ishan Pandita. And that's where Ishan Pandita, you can say, is going to be vital for India to come off the bench. We can say he's better than someone like an Rahim Ali, especially when it comes to him being the second striker. So Shiva Shakti and Ishan Pandita will be crucial for Team India, especially coming off the bench if Sunil has to be taken off in some stage or not. Sunil Chhetri has to be taken off in some stage or not. So this is India's possibility come the World Cup qualifiers. And who are the players to watch out for now? I just speak on Mahesh. I have to speak about Ashik Kurnian as well. These wingers have done a good job for Team India in the recent past. And if I have to put out one name, it is Changte. I mean, when you talk about some of the best wingers in South Asia, he's right up there. He's the best winger possible in South Asia. Now, if you talk about some of the best wingers in Asia, I know it's tough, but you have to put him in top 10 wingers in Asia because of what he's got. I know he plays in India. He's still not got the recognition, but Changte, with the pace, with the ability of the ball work, you have to say he's got something special about him. Watch out for Changte and his development in the next few years as well. And he's going to be a vital part of India's journey come the World Cup qualifiers, come the Kings Cup, come the Asian Championship as well. You can say India are shaping up much better than what they were in 2019 when they played the Asian Championship under Stephen Constantine, and come the World Cup qualifiers as well. They are shaping up much better for this World Cup qualifiers. I know Ego's team had a tough time in the World Cup qualifiers in the 2020. That's primarily because he never had enough time. He was newly appointed. He was still figuring his way out. There was no set starting 11. Now with that set defensive partnership of Anwar Ali and Sandesh Jingan, and the wing backs of Nikhil Pujari and Akash Mishra are right up there. You have to say India have finally found a good backline with Gurpreet Singh Sandhu being the man between the sticks, who's been very vocal, who's been a leader there. And the midfield of Sahal, you have to say Sahal has done a good job. Anirudh Thapa has done a very good job. And these guys will be very important for India come that very important World Cup qualifiers. And especially Sahal, he's got these moments of magic, where he creates play, but people would want more consistency from him. He's made a big move as well, one of the biggest transfers in Indian football history. There is made a move from his homehood club of Kerala Blasters to ATK Mohan Bagan. So this is a very important season for Sahal Abdul Samad as well. So that's about it from us. India's chance of the World Cup qualification is still hanging in the balance. You can never rule it out. But practically speaking, India's best possibility going into next round is this, where India can possibly play the third round, where India will be playing against some of the best teams. Can India qualify for the World Cup or not is a different debate altogether. India, it's not impossible, but step by step is a wide way to go. Qualify for the third round will be India's primary objective for this World Cup qualifiers. Then see how things go come the third round. And even in the Asian Championship, get to the next round. India had some really good games in the last season, came very well, played a good game against Bahrain, defeated Thailand, but this is going to be about getting one step ahead. Maybe get a result against Uzbekistan and Syria, and maybe go to the next round. Australia is going to be tough for India. So this is India's footballing journey in the next 12 months or so, and hope that you all come out there and support it. And most importantly, remember that Indian team needs our support. And do let us know if India have got their chance of qualifying into the FIFA World Cup 2026 in the comments. If you are new to this channel, do not forget to subscribe to our channel, and also do give a follow on our Instagram page. That's where we give all the latest sporting updates. Take care and see you all very soon. Bye-bye.